Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about something a little bit different, and it's books. Specifically the 5 books that have truly changed my life, impacted my life in a positive way. Since I can remember, like middle school, high school, have been really interested in like human psychology and really enjoyed reading kind of like self-help type of books, which might be a little odd for like a high school age. But in high school, I struggled a lot with like confidence and at the time I didn't really know, but like anxiety and social anxiety, which I didn't really realize I had until like many years later. Actually, after college, I realized I had anxiety, and I think a lot of people do, but like I had a full-on panic attack, went to the hospital, thought I was like having a heart attack. Anyways, I am somebody who's kind of struggled with confidence and accepting myself and kind of learning how to like interact in the world with people, which is really vague, but just to kind of give you a little background. So like I said, I've been in love with reading kind of self-help, new age, a bit spiritual books for as long as I can remember. And to start this off, I'm gonna start with probably like the first real book that I read in high school, and I've probably read this book like 5 times since, because it is so incredibly powerful, yet so incredibly simple. It is hands down one of my all-time favorite books. And the name of the book is The 4 Agreements. And in high school, I was really into, like, I loved Oprah. And I think that's where I heard about this book, was on Oprah's show. And it is truly life-changing. So the idea behind this book is there are 4 agreements you make with yourself. They're all very simple, these 4 agreements. But it's truly, truly hard to put these 4 agreements into action in your life, because it's amazing how your mind really wants to take you in another direction, and how you almost have to like retrain your brain to use these 4 agreements, to apply these 4 agreements, to kind of live by these 4 agreements. So agreement number 1 is be impeccable with your words. This is, the actual words you speak, also the words in your mind and the story you tell yourself, which can be incredibly detrimental to your, mental health, and speaking kindly of others and of yourself, and, using your word for good and using it positively and not speaking negatively and gossip and stuff like that, which is something I still struggle with. It's so hard to be positive to yourself, to not like gossip, to not, kind of fall into those things, but a very simple yet powerful agreement to make with yourself. That once you do apply these 4 agreements, it's like this weight lifts off you. It's incredible. Agreement number 2, don't take anything personally. This was something probably that I struggled the most with growing up, as I internalized a lot and took a lot of things personally. And that section of the book really hit home for me, and is something that I feel like I have really succeeded in the last like couple of years or decade, 10, 15 years of my life, that I've really come to understand that part. It doesn't mean I don't take things personally every so often, but I have come leaps and bounds from, my adolescent self, which I think is just something that comes with age. But this book, I just feel like really helped kind of propel that forward. Agreement number 3 is don't make assumptions. Another really, really simple concept, but it's incredible once you start thinking about how many assumptions you're actually making on a daily basis, and how so often those assumptions lead to pain and suffering because you made an assumption about something. And then the 4th agreement is always do your best. And I like that section in there because it talks about how your best is going to change from moment to moment, that, best is not this pinnacle of best, and you always have to strive to be up here. You really just do your best, and whatever your best is at that moment is okay. This is like a great starter book if you are kind of getting into self-help type of self-development, a bit new age reading. I can't recommend this book enough. It's a really, really simple read. I randomly have a quarter in here. It is honestly, though, has changed my life and is something that I use as a resource throughout my life, and something I can almost read every year and try to read it often. Like I said, I probably have read this thing like 5 times. There's so many like little bookmarks in here because like I said, I feel like the more you read it, you know, you kind of learn new things about yourself, and you're able to kind of go deeper into it and practice more of the agreements more wholly in your life, if that makes sense. So this is the only like book I have to show you, because for the most part, most of my books are on my Kindle, which is dead at the moment. But book number 2 is called The 5 Love Languages. A lot of people have read this book. It was really popular, I feel like maybe like 5 years ago or something like that. It is a incredibly helpful book for relationships, and not just like your intimate like significant other relationship, but has truly helped me with my relationships with everybody in my life, like especially my mom, my dad, my sister, you know, all the people that are really close to you. Understanding what your own love language is, or like your top 2 love languages are, and then learning what the people in your life's love languages are. It's crazy how it kind of made me realize how I miss the mark a lot of times with people, because I have a very different love language than say like my mom. And so what I thought was like an act of love, she didn't interpret as an act of love. And there's kind of like a disconnect. And then you can also see that in like relationships. Like Joel and I's love languages are different for the most part. And so learning to like, you know, like this is how I receive love, but knowing that you kind of have to alter the way you send love to somebody who has a different love language than you. And that is a really powerful thing to learn, because it kind of opens your eyes and makes you realize how diverse we all are, and how love is interpreted in so many different ways for so many different people, and how when there's like a strain maybe in a relationship that you have, that it could just be your like love languages aren't meshing up, where you think you're like, well, I'm spending all this time with you and we're spending so much quality time, and true, you know, and it ends up the person on the other end of the relationship is somebody who really values physical touch or acts of service, and that's like low in your kind of love languages and doesn't really register with you. So I found that book incredibly helpful for like my relationship with my husband, as well as like all my close relationships in my life. Another popular book is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I read this a couple of years ago, and it completely changed my perspective on decluttering and the process of decluttering. One of the points that she makes in there is, instead of going through like room by room, which is totally how I used to do it, and you know, maybe cleaning just your kitchen at once, or going through just your bedroom at once, instead you go by category, which is kind of a bit mind-blowing, because she wants you to get everything that falls in that category together in one location and go through it all. Like, for example, my kitchen stuff. In our previous house, we had kind of like a little bar area in the dining room, and I would go through like the kitchen, and then I go through like a different room and then a different room, and you kind of like rotate through rooms throughout, you know, the spring or annually. But until I started gathering an item together, it didn't really register with me how much stuff I had. So just like that principle or thing that I learned in that book helped me so much in learning to truly declutter my life and to make it a bit more sustainable, because it's crazy how quickly the clutter can creep back up if you aren't on top of it. I have a video where I think it's 14 tips for a clutter-free home, and a lot of those I feel like I pulled from this book. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up is an excellent book, really, really easy to read, but it's a long process after you read it to declutter your home. I feel like I didn't really get to a point after reading that book that was like, I felt truly content with I can maintain this until at least a year later. It really, really is a long process to go through all of your things and kind of find your weaknesses in there and address those. And then learning to maintain it is a bit of a struggle, but once I think you really get to a place where you kind of understand the principles of the book, the maintenance process isn't as much of a chore as it used to be for me. Like the spring cleaning thing, it always felt so overwhelming to go through everything come spring, where now I don't have that feeling. I do it a bit more regularly and consistent, and I have really a good set of tools to maintain the amount of stuff in my life and care for the amount of stuff. Like now I fold my clothes like the Komore Lee, I think it is, method. It's awesome. Like I think my husband thinks I'm crazy because I fold my underwear and my socks, and he just is like, why? But it's so wonderful when you can see all of your clothes. I don't know, I love organizing, and I really enjoy learning how to fold my clothes in that book too. Another book that I read, or actually I listened to, because I really have gotten into like audiobooks over the last like year or so, is what is it called? The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And I've never read like a money book before, and I am somebody who is good with my money, who has very little debt, and that's just something that was handed down to me as like a principle in life from my parents to, you know, not carry a lot of debt. Like I didn't get a credit card until after college, I think it was. I had just a debit card for my whole life, and I just thought that's how you did it. Even though I feel like I'm pretty good with my money, it gave me so much information that I didn't know about money. And there's like a 7-step program within the book that really kind of makes it less overwhelming. I think especially if you're somebody who struggles a lot with significant debt. I know student debt is a huge thing for so many people. It is a really good tool to learn how to essentially get yourself out of debt, and it doesn't feel like shameful or guilting necessarily when you're reading it. He's very like strong in the way that he talks as I listen to it in an audiobook format, which I would totally recommend because I don't know, so reading just a book about money is kind of boring to me, so the audiobook was awesome. I'd read a lot or listen to it a lot like on my way to work and then on my way home, and that like 20-30 minute drive each way was like just enough to get like some information on it each day. And I slowly kind of like plucked away at it. But it's a really, really good book to kind of give you a big overview about how to handle your money, how to handle your debt, and how to set yourself up for success. This book by no means is a get-rich-quick scheme at all. It's more of giving you like these steps. Like you gotta pay off your debt. You have to save more, spend less, and like really, really bootstrap yourself if you have a heavy amount of debt to truly like pay down that debt. And I feel like it gives you a lot of motivation and a lot of encouragement to do these steps. And they also have like real life examples of people who did it, which is also like, you know, empowering and inspiring and stuff like that. So I found it a really, really helpful book on money. Like I said, I've never read any other money books, but I found that this one kind of like checked all the boxes for me, because it brings you from like being heavy in debt to, you know, developing a nest egg, and then after that what you can do with your money. So if you've ever been like intimidated by reading a money book or anything like that, I would definitely recommend this book. Like I said, I haven't read any other ones, but I did like it. there's like a bit of like a religious vibe to it, which I'm not really religious. And so I just kind of like took that part with a grain of salt and stuff. But otherwise, I found it a really, really, really good book, and something that I suggested to like my sister and my friends, because I was like, this thing was super, super helpful, especially if you come from a family that doesn't talk a lot about money. It is really, really beneficial. And they kind of break down some myths about money and credit and stuff that was also really helpful. It's like doing a crap ton of money internet research and putting it all into like one book in like a 10-step program, which is very helpful, and I think would be helpful for a lot of people. So my last book, which is not really a book, so it's kind of a cheat, but it's an audio book, and it's called The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown. And it's not like a person reading or Brene Brown reading one of her books. It is instead like a weekend maybe long conference she had, or week-long conference that she spoke at, and they edited it down into an audiobook. And it is, if you take anything away from this video, I would say The Power of Vulnerability is so incredibly powerful. I've listened to it twice now. My husband's listened to it. I've suggested it to like anybody and everybody I know, because the principles in the book are so like at the core of us as humans, and I think something that people don't talk enough about, which is vulnerability and shame. Like those things are, if you've ever listened to like one of Brene Brown's books or read any of her books, that is the core of kind of her research and her platform. And this book, or this audiobook, it kind of encompasses all of her books, as I've read nearly every one of her books. And it just brings it all together. And then on top of that, amazing information and research that you learn. Brene Brown is such an incredible speaker that she's so relatable and she's so enjoyable to listen to that it is like one of my best things ever. Like I could just listen to it over and over and over again. Like I am a total Brene Brown like fangirl. I love her. I think she's incredible, like incredible. To kind of give you an idea of what it's about is, like I said, Brene Brown's whole platform is vulnerability and shame. And so vulnerability is something that I think a lot of humans struggle with. You know, letting people see your true self is a very scary thing. And, you know, being like authentically vulnerable is also a very scary thing. And she just talks about like how important that is for like human connection and growth, and giving you that feeling of love and being a wholehearted person. She also follows up with how shame plays a huge role in your life and emotional health. And it's something that I think anybody and everybody from any walk of life can relate to these principles, because I think we've all struggled with, you know, being your wholehearted, authentic self and being vulnerable. It's a hard, scary thing. And shame is a very real thing in the world, and humans are, you know, not immune to shame by a long shot. But she really breaks down the difference between like shame and guilt. And I found that really powerful, learning the difference between shame and guilt. And then she talks about how important play is in our life, and how important it is for human connections and, you know, living a truly wholehearted life. It's kind of like the term she essentially has coined for the people who weren't like her. She's so relatable because she like has struggled so much with vulnerability and shame, and she's a vulnerability and shame researcher. And so she talks about like the people kind of on the other side, where she's like, these people are the wholehearted people, the people that, you know, are truly vulnerable and open, and it's so good. It's so powerful. I love to like pop on my headphones and listen to it and like clean my house, and that's why I'm like kind of an Audible podcast junkie. Is I find I just like pop these on, I clean the house, it's amazing. And you just like kind of feel inspired, and I feel like I can like clean longer. I don't know. Anyways, I love wearing these and cleaning the house. And the book or audio book is just a really, really powerful message that I think, like I said, anybody can benefit from. Like, if my husband listened to it, we were driving like up north and back. It's not a super long Audible book. I think it's like only around like 6 hours. Hold on, let me check.
This is Marvel.
So it's 6.5 hours. And so it's not like a crazy long book. It's definitely something that is doable. Like, you could probably listen to it in a weekend, I would think. Or maybe, like, you could easily, we listened to it on like a drive up to a cabin and then back the other half of it. And my husband got a lot out of it and felt like it was like a really helpful and useful book. So, and then my sister has listened to it. She's actually the one who told me about it, and I'm just obsessed. Kim and I, my sister, are both obsessed with this book. And it's Audible book because it's not like a book. She's talking, it's like a conference. I don't know, it's so incredibly good because Brene Brown's speaking and she's amazing. And as you can tell, I love her. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the list of my 5 books that I feel like have truly impacted and changed my life. I would love to know any books that you guys have read that you feel like would fit in this bubble of like life-changing books, and you can just leave them in the comments down below. If you're wondering where my headphones are from, they're from Sudio, Sweden. The company sent them to me. They're awesome headphones. I think they're super comfortable to like clean and do stuff with and like work out a bit with. I'll leave a discount code in the description if you're interested in these or like want to know more about the headphones that I use. But yeah, like I said, please leave your like suggestions down below because like I said, I love myself some like self-help improvement, new age type of books, and would love to try out a new one and read / listen to a new book. Leave those suggestions below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would love if you subscribed and joined the little fam here, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I will see you guys in my next video. This video was something that someone requested, so if you have also any video requests, as always, you can leave those in the comments below. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.